What's up, y'all? Sparta here. For this video, I want to talk about fast charging, um, big batteries, and battery degradation in general, right? I want to talk about my experience with Xiaomi phones. These with between the 13 and 14 Ultra, having the 13 Ultra for basically 3 generations now, having the 14 Ultra for what is going to be 2 generations once the 17 Ultra hits. Um, I just want to give my 2 cents and I want to give my personal experience. Obviously, no scientific data. Obviously, nothing along those lines, right? Because I'm not a scientist. But obviously, this is the 14 Ultra right here. 13 Ultra is recording. So, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go and show. Okay, that's not how you find. How do you find it again? So, over 2 years, my battery health is at 90%. This is the Chinese variant of the phone. So it has a 5300 milliamp hour battery. 90 watt charging, right? 80 watt wireless charging. I don't have the wireless charger, so I only use the 90 watt charging, and I always use the charge boost. So take that for what you will. That's always on. And I charge it once a day. There are days where when I go to work, I work 5 times a week, 5 days a week, 40 hours a week, right? I never bring my charger with me to work. I just don't. Say I go to my mom's house or something, and I leave at let's say 12 p.m. or something, right? I get back at like 5 to 6 p.m., give or take. I get back with 70-60% battery. That's way more than enough to spare on my days off, to where I'm just coasting the rest of the night on my 14 Ultra. And I don't have to charge it for the rest of the day. And normally, what is my tip? Let me see what my typical usage is for screen on time. This phone does a better job at showing the screen on time, mainly because it's Hyper OS and not MIUI. MIUI just doesn't really show you that. So let me sit here and find. So this was on the 13th of November, which was when. Don't mind my girlfriend. It was a Thursday. So it was 2 Thursdays ago, right? 9 hours and 48 minutes. Now, some of you may say, that's not amazing. And sure, when you compare it to a phone like, say, maybe a Vivo X300 Pro or X200 Pro, which has phenomenal battery life, or you compare it to the new kings that are stepping up for battery life, like a OnePlus 15 or something. Yes, obviously, that's not going to compare. But for my sort of usage, which is say, Bluetooth streaming, very casual usage for things like, say, watching YouTube videos and stuff like that, or just being in the bed, letting a YouTube video roll while I'm sleeping or something, right? This is really great. No V60. Very few phones even today can touch a V60, right? But now we're finally getting to that point. It only took for phones to have 7,300 milliamp hour batteries for that to happen. But sorry. Whatever. always gotta show the V60 some love. Some mixed camera usage. I don't use when I'm not when I don't want to actually take a picture. I'm not really using the camera hyper heavily. I'm very specific about my camera usage on the phone, right? But when I do, I'm like taking the picture, going through something like relens, putting on a filter, maybe adjusting the fake aperture or whatever the fuck, and just doing stuff like that and really driving the phone in terms of like it's sending data up and down and processing and all that stuff, right? So to me, that's very nice. And it just gets through the day. Now, let me talk about the 13 Ultra. Now, just pretend, since the 13 Ultra is recording, that this is a 13 Ultra. 13 Ultra, I have the global edition of it, right? It is a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. Man, I don't know what black magic Xiaomi did with the 13 Ultra, but it's like this phone just goes. Like, this phone will just go, dude. Like, I will sit there and watch YouTube for like maybe 12, 13 hours straight on this phone from 100 to like 10%. Now, I don't use the cameras that much because I pretty much have just switched over to the 14 Ultra for that. Not that the 13 Ultra cameras are bad. There are definitely still things that the 13 Ultra does that I really do appreciate and love. I wouldn't necessarily say completely over the 14 Ultra, but I've gone to this mainly because I love playing with the variable aperture. I love the medium telephoto and also the periscope. I like the focus distance improvements on both of those, so that's been very nice. But this also, the 13 Ultra also charges at 90 watts, right? I've had it for 3 years. Now, MIUI 14 does not show you the battery percentage, like your battery capacity percentage, so I can't really speak on that. It's definitely degraded, like, because it's obvious. Obviously, over years of charging the phone once per day, which I do for both of these phones, I do the exact same thing. There's going to be battery degradation. But it doesn't feel like there's battery degradation, and that's really what matters, right? And when I first got this phone, I was coming off of phones like a Pixel 7a or the Pixel 7a and the Sony Xperia 1 Mark III. And before that, Galaxy S21 Ultra. I'm not going to count the V60 because the V60 was an anomaly for the time that it was around, right? So I'm not going to count that because it's pretty much the same aside from the charging speeds. But when I first got the 13 Ultra, I was charging it still like twice a day. That battery anxiety still was setting in and all that stuff. And it took a little bit of, getting used to. And over time, I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just not going to bring my charger to work. And sure, a couple days it would sit there and be like, it would take a bit. And it would drop in battery a little bit more over time. But as it got acclimated to how I was eventually starting to... Hold on. My bad, my cat was doing something. Making sure she wasn't doing anything stupid. But, what was it? Oh yeah, obviously it had to get acclimated to how it was being used at that point in time. Obviously I was driving the phone harder because it had my SIM in it as well. But over time, it's insane that this phone still just lasts on one charge a day. And the heaviest that I've ever used it so far, aside from like maybe gaming every now and again or like stuff like that, is right now when I'm recording video. And this is the most that it's probably been used in a while, like more in a more heavy sense. So it's obviously going to be, getting to the battery, eating the battery a little bit more. But in terms of this entire notion that fast charging degrades your battery faster, there's already a video that came out showing that these 90-watt fast charging phones don't necessarily degrade more over time compared to phones that have slower charging methods, but then they call it fast charging, right? It hasn't necessarily, like, it's kind of been, I'm gonna just say pseudo debunked. I'm not really gonna say it's actually been completely debunked, but I could just go by what I felt over the years, over this 3 years of having the 13 Ultra in particular, since obviously I had it the longest compared to having this too, and it's just insane, man. It's just crazy. And people are talking about, oh, the battery will degrade on your OnePlus 15 faster with that 120-watt charger. I think it's 120 watts. I don't remember. It was like, yeah, but the phone has a 7,300 milliamp hour battery. It has way more capacity compared to your Samsung phone, your fucking Pixel, your iPhone. So say in 3 years, it loses like 1 to 5% battery each year, right? You'll still have an insane amount of capacity left on that phone. And we're talking about phones that they're committing to having like multiple years of software support too, right? On a Pixel, you get 7 years of software support. That hardware is not going to last the same amount of time that software is. That battery, they're already sitting there and capping off like your battery charging at like 200 cycles. Do you know how crazy that is? They're throttling your battery after 200 cycles of charging. That's nuts to me. Google is having problems when it comes to things like batteries in like the Pixel A series, where they've had to recall phones. But you mean to tell me that, oh, the phone gets hot? Yes, obviously it's going to get hot when it's charging at 90 watts. Right? But guess what? It's only doing that for 45 minutes. 30 to 45 minutes. You charge your iPhone or your Galaxy for an hour and a half, it's getting warm. And they're throttling your stuff. They're throttling your fucking $1,400 phone's battery. And you mean to sit here and tell me that's the better choice? Because, oh, I just like the Pixel camera software. Shut up. Fucking pleb. Goddamn. No, I'm done with this, man. I really am. I'm done with this fake fear mongering because you don't want to admit that the company that you like is doing something bad, is doing something that is pretty anti-consumer. They don't want to give you new tech. They want to keep you buying the new thing over and over and over again. And sure, Xiaomi, Oppo, and Vivo also want to do that too, right? But I feel like with a 13 Ultra, with a 14 Ultra, I could stick with these phones for like another 2-3 years and be fine battery-wise and not have to worry about a thing. Still get very fast charging, still get very good battery life, and guess what? Still get phenomenal cameras. I'm still going to have cameras. I'm still going to have cameras that are going to stomp the competition and are going to compete 2 to 5 years later. When it comes to your Apple, Google, and Samsung phones. But whatever, man. Whatever. Let's just keep saying that having, and I know it's not just the fast charge, like it's also the battery tech, right? I think they use silicon carbon or whatever. I don't know. I'm too tired, bro. I'm too tired and sick to try to remember how to say it. But they're using very new battery tech that's actually making it to where these battery cells last longer and they're higher quality. So you won't have to sit here and worry about things like losing capacity within like 3 to 5 months that you do on an iPhone. Right? Give it another 2 months. You'll see iPhone people that bought the 17s talking about my iPhone is already at 89% battery capacity. How? How? The phone just came out. You just got it, bro. Is it degrading in the box? What is going on? I don't know. Let me know in the comment section below what you feel about this. Like the video if you like it. Share with people that are interested in this sort of content. Have a good one.